Welcome to the world of Selamir, a magical land where gods walk and titans slumber. The magical world of Easy to Spell, where the name's easy to spell and we still fucked it up. Two L's, we know, it's terrible. Over the next couple minutes, we're just going to be going through and bringing everybody back to speed. If it's either been a little while since you watched the beginning, you just need a quick recap, something so you can join us when we resume live September 5th at 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. We are resuming live, which we haven't done for a while. We've done a lot to improve and grow the channel, and we're kind of finally ready to resume that. I'm really excited. In light of that, let's go back to the beginning. Selamir is a world divided into two major continents: the continent of Theramoon, which is the established civilization that we know, with three kingdoms, a number of independent city states, each one vying for their own needs and wants. It's from this continent our adventurers come from, on their way to Aratas, a newly discovered and recently settled wild expanse where people can go and try to stake their own claim, make their new lives. This is where our heroes have been headed. Leaving from the city state of Gormund, an independent city state naval power on Theramoon, setting by sea. What the fuck is so funny, David?
It's I keep looking at Will. I can't help it. I just keep seeing his goddamn fucking popsicle just fucking peeking up at the bottom of the fucking screen. I'm over here fucking dying for no fucking reason. My eyes are fucking watering.
We're being serious for
Oh
once.
my god. I couldn't, like, I was trying so hard. But, like, the entire beginning of that, I'm just sitting there like...
I know. Okay, we are not editing this. We're going live. This is all live.
All right. I'm good.
You okay? Can we continue? Yeah. All right. We're keeping on fucking brand, I guess.
I'm just not gonna look at.
I was about to.
You got all three colors that time. You still got a giggle?
All
right.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
You eat it like a normal popsicle now.
Where were we?
I keep trying to start again. Our party, leaving from the city state of Gormund, each for their own reasons, quickly is met by the dangers of the new land as the ship is sunk. They're forced to make their way as shipwreck survivors along the coast, the somewhat dangerous rest of the way to the settlement of Harlan's Landing, your new homes. Upon arriving, the party is pretty quickly put to work. They've proven themselves at least somewhat reliable. They learn of a number of scouts that have gone missing from the settlement in the surrounding area and are sent to pursue them. In this line of questing, the party runs across their first major encounter against the Fey presence, the protectors of the forest, in the form of a puppet tree that has captured the scouting parties, forcing them as marionettes to turn on their own comrades. The party defeating the tree, rescuing the few surviving scouts, also locates a magical artifact that is creating portals, actual doorways from the Prime Realm to the Fey Realm, allowing these spirits and entities through. Returning the scouts to the settlement, bringing this to the attention of the Governor Renault. He tasks you with scouting the nearby area, discovering dangers, and mapping out this land that nobody has been able to really get a foothold in. the party sets out in the direction of Falks, a neighboring settlement funded by one of the major kingdoms of Theramoon, um, the Felden Waith. During their travels here, they come across an ancient tomb of what seems to be a familiar face uh, to one of our party members. They also meet the Mythalai, the leader of the exiles of Aratos, those banished from the settlements for committing crimes and for various reasons, who warns them of the treacherous nature of the leaders of these settlements, the greed that is going to lead them to their own destruction. After meeting with them, the party continues on. There are a couple encounters with deities, demi deities of a sort that we will be getting into in the recap down the road. But once the party arrives at the settlement of Falks, they find that the city is under magical enchantment. Um, some force is causing the denizens of the city to drink and revel themselves to death, effectively. Seeming odd at first, just a city full of drunk, aimless individuals in a dangerous land. Uh, they find um, another portal to the Fae. A number of satyrs and nymph folk and other denizens of the Feylands, um, reveling in the city alongside the inhabitants. Initially believing that the Fey influence to be causing the revel, our party investigates further and discovers um, that the Fey presence is not something normally to be expected. The revel is an enchantment that has been placed upon the city by the Assassins Guild the Night Eye, creating for themselves an obfuscating enchantment, allowing them to operate freely within the city. To which end they had used to kidnap Ladrelai, the governess of Falks. Um, our adventurers being able to track down this Assassins Guild, rescue the governess, find a little bit about the uh, goals of this Assassins Guild. They who seem to be hunting down a artifact, a shard that is a central point in changing moments through history, which is tied directly to a family member of a party who had taken said shard to this continent to hide it, to keep it away from those that would use it for evil. Uh, the governess Ladrelai bestowing some more information to our party, um, thanking them with numerous magical items and effects, um, grants them leave to call on her in for anything that they may need, offers her assistance, and uh, after some other exploration of the city, a near-death experience with again family member of one of our party members. Um, there's a theme with family, it seems, and your characters. Uh, our party eventually departs from Falks, making their way back to Harlan's Landing, where, in their absence of a few weeks, there have been a number of mysterious circumstances. Fire in the governor's house, him seeming to have been burned and damaged, uh, a number of small holes having been drilled through the wall, numerous things that the party kind of decides it's not necessarily time to look into. These are minor, and they leave to meet with the exiles. Um, Traversing through the forest, our party runs across uh, a tiny army of Fey, Sprite, and Pixie folk who are preparing to attack Harlan's Landing as recompense for these foreign invaders and interlopers moving in, destroying their ancient homelands. Um, party is able to negotiate temporary peace and is led to talk to the father, this uh, deific protector of the forest in the Court of Lights. You negotiate further for an extent of peace as a chance to gather the leaders of Aratos together and find a way to coexist in harmony. as what was an unexpectedly civil conversation with this until now hostile entity. You made your way, were able to contact Ladderline, the Governor Renault, um, and a leader of the third settlement on Artas, Aldenstead, um, gaining a high profile figure to speak on their behalf in these talks of peace. Um, having gathered these figures, met with the father and establish a tentative peace, a way to maintain balance. Um, we are currently at the forefront of a major decision that our party is going to have to make. This third settlement of Aldenstead is under siege by an elemental force on the side of the Fae, but not directly under the Father to the point that he can stop them. Either Aldenstead must fall, and the Tao, an elemental overlord of sorts, be kept in power as the major figure in that area, or the Tao must fall for Aldenstead to stand and for them to embrace the rules that have been set by your Concord. Here, our party, who we're going to go all the way back again to episode 1, get into a little bit more details, go over a lot of the stuff that's happened. David, introduce us to Kaya.
Yeah, so I'm playing Kaya Bauer, a purple-skinned, white-haired tiefling with a almost like a black tattoo on his shoulder. Black tattoo, black handprint tattoo. Although it's not quite a tattoo. But yeah, he's very charismatic, not afraid to lie to get to where he wants to be, and yeah, that's it from there.
He likes to sleep a lot.
He does like to sleep a lot. Mike, who you playing?
I play Raven, a half-elf ranger, who used to be quite chipper and happy about everything, and thought the world was a bright place, and has quickly learned that things aren't always as peachy as they look, or as they may seem. He has definitely felt the effects of being cast out from his own home, and is eager to find what has happened to his parents that he believed were dead, but now certain circumstances may have led him to think that they may be alive. And Rachel?
Rachel plays Rachel. I'm talking about myself in the third person. It's beautiful. I play Valala Valkyrie, who is the only heir to the Nalbrun throne, although nobody knew that at the beginning. She is a member of the high-profile, essentially assassin group, the Valkyries, that are like the Navy SEALs of Nalbrand. She is a cleric and now druid as well after her experiences in this lovely Fey forest. Redhead human, lots of freckles on her face and green eyes. And she killed her dad.
Whoa, hey, whoa, spoilers!
It's not a
Jeebus.
spoiler, this is a recap!
It's a recap.
Yeah, your turn.
Oh, and then I
I'd
want
like to be introduced.
that last human, Will. That one can talk now, I guess.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm Will. I play Orelton Denthier, who is a black chromatic dragonborn, who starts out not serving the demigod list. We have since gone back into list service, who is, I guess, the goddess of knowledge, secrets, and hidden things, if I remember correctly. He's kind of the yin to Raven's yang in the fact that he uh, has always known that things are shit, will continue to be shit, and just lives in that shit and knows that that's how life will always be.
Pretty
Uh,
nihilist.
pretty nihilistic, but yeah, enjoys it nonetheless. So I guess on that theme, Andrew, what made you want to kill your players with a young Kraken, episode 1?
All right, so I mean, first of all, I mean, you all saw how stressed I was. Episode 1, I was a wreck. Anything I could do to just end that as early as I could, I was probably all for. Uh, but seriously, like I thought it was a really like everybody's done the. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but everybody's done the you meet at the tavern or oh you all work for a guild. Um, and my initial thought was I'll put you all in a ship, and I wanted a way to really show that this was going to be a dangerous world where like people lived and made do, but if you that's if you stay in your lane. Like what's something like people want to make a better life for themselves, there's dangers to that. Like a kraken is going to show that. And then it had to be a young kraken because the rule books for kraken, y'all started at level 3, you would have died immediately. But yeah, I thought it would be a fun way to kind of forge a party through trial, not through cheap place to find a beer.
It also doesn't give us much of an
Yeah.
option if we had rolled up on the boat, got off at Harlan's Land, and we could have all been like, hey, all right, pleasure traveling with y'all. We'll see ya. Not, oh, hey, we survived a Kraken attack together. Maybe you want to walk to town with me?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. So,
give you all the chance to immediately prove yourselves as somewhat dependable in some way.
I think we talked about this at one point, but what would you have done if we like had completely failed all of that? Like we succeeded in getting a lot of people onto the boats and getting them to shore, but like what would you have done if we just sunk with the ship?
If you had so what would have happened is that would have been episode 1. That would have been like a prologue, I guess. We would have talked about new characters, and you probably would have started at Harlan's Landing receiving word that people you were expecting to arrive were destroyed. Like that, or we would have chosen
Stopped.
like you would have had different characters that had just were already there. Or this is another idea I'd been toying with, is you could have each chosen a character from your own backstories and heard through the grapevine, this person died. Here's this connection. I have to go see if that's true, and all would have met up that way.
you wouldn't have like washed us up on shore or something like that?
Not if I killed you.
Okay, that's fair.
like I'm assuming like the worst happens. Like if it was one of those like you fell in the water, but I'm assuming like we're talking like died in combat, like washed
Eaten
away.
by a Kraken.
Well,
Decided to try to fight the Kraken instead of run away.
one of
Yeah.
us
We did at first,
almost did die. I want to point that out. I first hit from the Kraken was down to 2 hit points. So
Well, I think also your
I
hit
know
points
that.
were. I think your hit points were a little messed up at the time too. Though.
they were, but I wasn't aware of that at the time, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh God,
Still would have been
I'm
bad.
gonna die."
This is it. Contrary to that, what would you have done if we beat the stupid thing?
You almost did.
Yeah.
You were level 3. The juvenile kraken, I believe, is like a challenge rating 12. I didn't even like process. I made some extra rules so I could have like independent moving tentacles. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna do this. You had it within, I think, 30 points of death.
Damn.
And you would have shown up as heroes that had slain a kraken. And again, baby kraken has parents. There would have been some fallout there because
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
can't.
we can
just,
never go home unless we can figure out how to fly.
Yeah.
Teleport.
Yeah, no, y'all would have shown up as heroes, like immediate recognition. That's a lot less building a trust with the settlement. But
Yeah, we should.
I want to ask
should-
if I can turn this around. What did you guys think? Like we joked about it. Before we had started streaming, I was like, yeah, you guys get to fight a Kraken first episode. Like, funny, haha. What was your thought when that actually like popped out of the water? When that with all the tension that was building up there?
This son of a bitch did it.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I
I
thought
mean,
he was
so-
fucking with us. This son of a bitch did it.
Yeah, so immediately is the first thing I thought of. I was like, is he really gonna like when you told us that? You're like, yeah, I'm gonna throw a Kraken at you. Ha ha ha. I was like, I think he really is gonna throw a Kraken at
Yeah,
us.
because you had on the map of the whole world, you had like a little it looked like Nessie in the water, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah.
Uh,
As soon as those elementals started coming up, I was like, oh boy.
I will say that was also a really fun moment with Raven when you were like your first time out at sea and these like kind of playful water elementals just started getting really dark and
Mhm.
dark. Like,
Yeah, that was intense, and then seeing that massive storm just rolling in, it wasn't just a storm, and it was like there was no chance to prepare. We were in it before we realized it.
which if I can mention a personal thing really quick, because we played a little bit before this, kind of like establishing a group and play style and everything like that. Mike has never played D&D before all this. So like round of applause really quick to a brand new player. One of your first encounters, not just first encounter of the campaign, one of your first encounters was a Kraken.
Yeah, and you
I'm
took a hit from it.
Really
One
sorry.
fucking hit.
I'm sorry you have me as your first DM.
Oh, you've only just tried to kill me twice. It's fine.
Twice.
I
Oh,
would
we'll get to
like
it.
to
We'll
say,
get
though,
to that.
I would like to say though, those elementals have been kind of a great amount of foreshadowing for Raven's entire demeanor.
Yeah,
Showed up very chipper, very playful, and just
Yeah.
tanked
very much
real
so.
quick.
Yeah.
Every time. Go ahead.
We can fast forwarding a little bit to when you guys actually arrive at Harlan's Landing. You guys met a couple NPCs, but Tarle, he's the Goliath Tavern keeper of the Giant's Rest. He said something that I think is funny that it stuck because you walked in, introduced yourself, and we're all super happy. And he just looked at you, looked at O'Relton, Mr. Negative, and is like, "This guy for real? His type don't last long around here." It was one of the first things that an NPC said, like directly to Raven,
hmm
and it's held upsettingly true.
Oh yeah, Ravens had to change dramatically from what he was hoping to do and where he's ended up being. It's been quite a change of pace. I didn't think I was gonna have to like switch who I was so rapidly, but that was like, if I keep going on this happy-go-lucky thing, I'm dead. Like there's no chance.
Yep.
It's time to be a little more serious. The world's not as cute as you thought.
And I mean, on that train of like Raven's first impression, what were your guys' first impressions of each other, of all of us? Like, how did you feel about other people, other party members? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I'm probably
Yeah.
Raven. Okay.
I guess David go first.
All right. So, like, are we talking like our personal, like what our character thought of the other people?
Oh,
Is that kind of where we're going? Both?
everything.
So mine, to me, it seemed like so initially Kaya had run into Vala, and I feel like Kaya probably had the same, I guess you'd call it a vibe from Vala that I did, and it was kind of like Vala's this goody two shoes healer person that does good stuff. Probably here to, I don't know, be in a medical tent somewhere and take care of people. And I mean it's kind of true. She did come in clutch a couple times here and there, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, that would I would say that'd be my first impression of Vala. I would say O'Relton just seemed like the grumpy old man from, I don't know, any grumpy old man show, I guess.
Get off my lawn.
Get off, yeah, exactly. Leave me alone. Get off my lawn. Ugh. And I mean, obviously there's some backstory stuff there, but I mean, as far as the first impression goes, just some grumpy old dragonborn that's pissed off, doesn't want to talk to anybody, just leave me alone and let me do my shit.
Like you
And then
you have some talking to do on not wanting to talk to anybody.
Yeah. Like, squeeze me.
Mister,
Let's hear O'Relton's first impressions on people. Let's just
Sure. Well, to tell you the truth, Raven was the one I remember the most. But I mean, for the same reasons that Tarly had. Like, what is Mr. Chipper Happy Pants doing on the prison exile ship? Like, why is this guy coming over with all the degenerates and the ne'er-do-wells, and what the fuck are you even doing here, man? Bauer was, I don't even know how to describe Bauer, man. He was you were drunk the first time, weren't you?
No,
Or
seasick.
you were in the seasick, that's what it was. Like, this little soft, he couldn't stand up to a stiff breeze.
Yep.
I
Yep.
couldn't even imagine him having been in prison.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
And to tell you the truth, I don't even remember my first impressions of Alla. She's probably way too much of a bookworm for a Relton to have even looked twice at, but yeah.
But
Yeah, I
you,
think-
Val. That's or whichever one is ready.
Vala can
Yeah,
go.
I was gonna say that Vala's first impression of O'Relton was the dad she never had. Grumpy old
Missed the
man,
mark on that
but
one,
a
I
father
think.
figure.
Ouch.
That should the more masculine this is how a dad should act. And so she kind of like took a little bit of trusting towards him that wasn't like she probably shouldn't have. There was no reason that she needed to feel trusting towards him. Kaya was very interested in Kaya and his backstory as to why he, out of all of these, was the only one in a cage. And he looked super squishy. He was like seasick, and she was trying to like make him feel better. And when he didn't seem like really interested in anything, she played that prank on him and like threw the water in his face to fix his seasickness. Just to kind of see what kind of reactions she could get out of him.
Your voodoo
And Raven-
thing that you did to cure his seasickness. Yeah.
Yep. It's great. And then Raven was immediately a little brother. Like, she felt super protective of, but that changed later on about that.
Yeah, and for me, O'Relton just seemed like the grumpy guy. Like, he's just there to do work. He's not interested in you or what you're about. He just wants to do what he was here for and move on. Like, get out of my face. I don't need to know your life. I'm here for a purpose, and that's what I'm here for. Vala just seemed super helpful. Like Kaya said, like, just gonna help everybody, gonna be in a med tent somewhere, taking care of people, really looking out, but also kind of a prankster, likes to have fun. But so originally I think Raven kind of connected with Vala a little bit more, just because their personalities seemed to match a little bit. And then Kaya, Raven got sick of pretty quick. Within the first few episodes, he was just done with Kaya's attitude of not wanting to help, not wanting to do anything, being more concerned about himself. So Raven was just like, dude, if you don't want to be a part of this, then get out of the way. Which was weird for him because he's always been super nice to people, but he also believes that, everybody has a purpose. And if you're not doing that, then why are you here? What's your problem? So those were definitely my first impressions. But
yeah, Vala definitely wasn't too into Kaya by like episode 3.
Which is so funny
same
because
reason.
Kaya's like in terms of stat block, Kaya's charisma is off the charts compared to any of you. And the charismatic, like, talk my way out of anything. Everybody was just like, no, fuck this guy. No.
But I think that's kind of come in later on. Like we've now seen the value of Kaya and the way he can twist words and talk to people, and at least in Raven's eyes, he's kind of proven where he fits in the group.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it's
more genuine now.
yeah. Because as far as Raven tries to portray this kind person and this charismatic person, he's actually terrible at being charismatic. He, his father being in government and trying to have peace treaties, he tried to take tricks and trades from him, but it's he definitely takes more after his mother, not his father.
Yeah, you're the woods kid, like
Yeah.
off hanging out in the woods talking to squirrels, and then
Yep.
you pick up a couple like legal jargon from your emissary dad, and just none of it tracks.
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing the words, but not how to use them.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, party got together. This was the bit. This was a big key part with like the Kraken thing, is you all showing up at Harlan's Landing, being like, "Hey, this all happened. We came through it like mostly unscathed." I was able to be like, from an NPC perspective, like, "Cool, you four seem to work together. We've got shit that needs handled." And I was able to put you guys onto that like first major like actual quest, like actual like NPC being like, "Hey, go into the forest and figure out what happened to the missing scouts," which is where we really key in on my ability to take something like, "Oh, find missing people in the forest," and really fuck it up.
Make it dark AF.
But lead it, like, you guys going after the missing scouts was a weird, to me as the DM, and so you'll have to tell me if it was different to any of you guys, a weird roller coaster of some really funny moments, some really fucked up moments, and then some really funny fucked up moments.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the whole quest though was Kaya trying to find boots, because you had
Raven.
you had lost.
It was
Raven looking for boots because you had lost yours in the shipwreck. Like,
No, I
right?
lost them
No,
in the sand when you made me.
Yeah,
Oh!
so
sand.
he got trapped in the sand pit.
Quicksand.
the quicksand, and it
And I
pulled
had
your
to do a
boots off
boot
when you
roll.
go. Favorite homebrew rule that we've ever come up with was a D100. 50 means the boots fit. Over 50 means they're too big. Under 50 means they're too small, and by how much changes. That was probably my favorite on the fly homebrew rule I've ever made.
So
And
good.
let's just say there was a lot of giants that showed up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because of that, that's
He
helping
kept
use it.
rolling like 90th
97?
percentile.
So
Yeah.
it was a scouting troop made up mostly of Goliaths at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm so glad. Like, as terrible as it was once, like, we found everybody and saved everyone, or not everybody, but saved who we could. Like, having to take boots off of somebody that was my size sucked, but I was so ready to have boots my size at that point.
And the rest of the
Again-
boots served as great planters to get. What was the plants we were taking
they-
back
They
to
were
Tarly?
pineapples.
Pineapples.
They're
pineapples, that's right.
I forgot
that-
about that. It was so
Hey,
Yeah,
while you're
well-
off in the forest, look for pineapples. They
Yeah.
make great cider.
Well, and I mean, here's the thing though, right? I mean, I'm sure Raven was a little upset about not having boots, but that's about all Kaya had.
That's
Like,
oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well, if you would
'Cause-
have remembered to grab your bag when we were jumping ship from the Kraken, you might
That's
have
the
had a
thing.
little bit more.
I didn't have a bag.
Oh yeah, you
I was
did.
a
Yeah, that's right.
prisoner.
You showed up with nothing. Okay, that's fair.
Hey, I
Well-
will say your starting equipment, I can finally tell you this, was in a chest in the captain's quarters.
They got
And-
smashed
So-
with the captain in tow.
So when we
No,
got
no,
to Harlan's
the
Landing.
chest is probably
Go ahead, sorry.
yeah. So yeah, the plan was like you're a prisoner, but once you're on this new continent, it's kind of like don't come back and everything's fine. Here's your stuff. Here's everything you'll need, like starting your new life. Had the captain survived more than 2 rounds, or you had asked him and be like, I need equipment, any of the sailors would have like pointed it at, like been like, there's a chest in there that's meant for, you know, new settlers, and you had been able to grab a bag and had all of your starting equipment.
Yeah, I'm just glad you were able to get
Ah.
your diamond.
My
Yeah,
my
like-
crystal.
Yeah, your
Crystal.
crystal. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Because we
that would
did
have
we
been a
did
whole
in
different.
Harlan's Landing, we did go down to the docks and they'd had some stuff that had shipwrecked back,
Well,
right?
So yeah, I'd
Yeah.
actually gotten my crystal back on the ship. The
Oh, yeah.
captain was actually holding it.
Yeah,
he
because that was
threw
your
it.
arcane focused, and so that's
Yep.
you,
Alright.
you did the whole like I can help, but I need something. Is
Yeah.
the Dragon Age Inquisition beginning? The
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
didn't like it, but he threw your crystal.
But
So through that, you fought a puppetry with nothing.
Yeah,
yeah, the creepy puppy tree,
the
the corpse
puppet.
tree,
We
yeah.
we gotta emphasize the T in puppet because it sounds like you're saying puppy tree, and it's
A
much less
puppy
terrifying.
tree.
Um,
Puppet.
yeah. So, and real
Puppet.
quick, does somebody want for the people at home that are just being caught up? Does somebody want to describe the puppetry in their own words?
I mean, the way I pictured it was just like essentially like a big willow tree, kind of like the Whomping Willow, if you would, but like just bodies hanging from it, like holding onto it and like puppeteering these dead people, alive people, whatever, and like just a thing of nightmares is the way I describe
Right.
I had,
And the oh god.
I had imagined it kind of similar, but again, for the people at home that are just tuning or just catching up, razor vine was kind of a big thing throughout that entire endeavor, and it's just this overgrowth of this razor sharp vine, as you can imagine. Um, and if memory serves, the tree was actually a huge cluster of razor vine that had like grown up and like twisted around into the trunk and then branched out like a huge willow. So I had imagined like these corpses with actual like the razor vine like through skin and like through wrapping around bone and actually like being able to manipulate corpses, real people, whatever. So maybe I imagined it
Yeah.
a little bit darker than most, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
you imagined it exactly the way I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
yeah.
Because Razorvine Bane, and that was why the boots were such a big thing, is because so much was like extra difficult terrain for you, because it's effectively walking barefoot on barbed wire brush.
Blah.
there was not an
Yeah.
option to not have boots.
Yeah, there was the moment when you all like got close, and I'm like, once they get so close to it, and you got closer and closer, and then all the corpses like just dropped and like caught like marionettes
Mhm.
and didn't move. You're like, oh shit. And then I think it was Kaya or somebody got close enough that they were able to actually like within range of the vines, and they started attacking. This is where I was talking about like the funny fucked up. It was a Relton standing in the middle of all of them, like hacking around, and I don't think I was able to hit you a single time. And so it's all these
yeah.
puppets like being tied together, trying to like slap into you, and just ineffective. Just
Like
it
when
was
you get the
hor-
strings of two marionettes wrapped around each other and they're just like completely tied together and like face to face and
Yeah.
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 Except now they're corpses. So
Yeah, most of
Well,
them.
most of them. Yeah.
and didn't
And
we
it
end
does.
up taking that thing down by it was breaking the tablet, right? There's a tablet in the center of the tree. Is that how that ended up working?
Yeah,
Yeah, Raven shot it.
there's the animating magic coming through a small portal held open by that artifact we talked about in the recap, the crystal tablet, uh, that has kind of become a semi-important fixture. You haven't had to use it a whole ton, but yeah, that was Raven taking a crack at that and being able to shut down the magic, allowing the tree to animate with such sentience.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we'd seen that like portal thing earlier before we got to the tree, right? With Alessandra.
Yeah.
It's seen something
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, something
Um,
kind of similar. We saw like a little tear.
And then the pixie. Um, So yeah, building up to the puppetry, you guys is walking along, and Relton, how did that go?
Mm.
I
How
don't
did
even
that
remember.
interaction?
We couldn't figure out what the tear was, right? So
Right.
was this the one that I tore
Yeah.
open?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
peeked
started
your head
actually,
pulling
in.
like,
on it.
Yeah. And didn't you
tore
throw
open and
something in it?
I think I stuck my head through
Oh, yeah,
at
okay.
one point, and I like looked around, and that's when we saw Alessandra, the little pixie fairy. And I don't remember how the conversation with her went, but I remember her like her little tiny form trying to pull everything together, and it was just too big for her.
So
don't
it
think
didn't
you
go well
had-
for you. You got polymorphed into a
Right, but I don't
squirrel.
remember what I said to get her to be pissed off at me
She
enough to turn me
basically
into a
said,
squirrel.
"You shouldn't have done that, and you're in a place that you don't belong," and changed you. You didn't get a chance to say anything to her. She just changed you because one, we had thrown a rock in, and then she threw it back.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so then
yeah.
you
Okay.
opened it
right,
up to
yeah,
peek
yeah.
in, and then she was like, "You're not supposed to be here," and changed you into a squirrel.
And then Kaya, very confused, "What did you do with Elton?"
Uh,
Good
Like-
times.
Which on the theme of Bauer's different nicknames for everybody, has O'Relton had the same nickname the entire time? I
Yes.
feel like I've had 2 or 3. Has he?
Nope. You've always been Elton.
Elton.
Yep.
And Raven was who again?
Ven.
Ven. That's right.
Vala has always been Vala, though.
Hard to
I
shorten
mean,
Vala,
no,
really.
you've called me Val before.
Did
Or
I
just
call you Val?
Val. Just Val. But I mean, it's really interesting that you used Vala because that's actually a nickname. She hasn't up until recently told you guys that her full name is Valalov. So,
Oh, well, that was probably my mistake. But
You could call her
but it
Olive.
works well.
But yeah, I mean,
Olive.
the boot roll, Orelton being a squirrel, all just really fun moments for me, I think, in that time.
Big and then
It-
and then once we got the tablet, you attuned to it, right?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So, I wanted to pick up the tablet and see what it was, and I think I ended up with it because it had Elvish on it, and
It was
Orelton
written in Sylvan.
Sylvan.
Sylvan,
Yeah.
yeah, Sylvan, and Orelton couldn't read Sylvan at the time, and
Right.
so I took it and was reading it and discovered what it was, and decided overnight I was gonna attune to it to try to learn more about it, and woke up not being able to speak, so that was fun.
That was 72 in-game hours of just
3 days.
and that was okay, so from the back end, because you and I talked about this, that was like emotional torture to you because the other 3 people were like not so much Vala, but like Kai and Relton were kind of dicks.
Like cat got your tongue, all this stuff, and it was just
Yeah.
like 3
Yeah,
days
I
of
think-
just pure not letting, like saying whatever the fuck they wanted to me without any repercussion.
I don't know. There was a
was
little
gonna
bit of
say-
repercussion, wasn't there?
Well,
Yeah,
who
I mean, you
hurt
got
more?
upset at one point, and then
That was Raven's
I-
decision, but
I-
was it an eye bite or what?
I
What
put
did you
to
end up
sleep.
doing on?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's right. And then it blasted you back, right?
yeah.
Because it was cracked, it had like the repercussive force, the magical backlash, and that was at level 4 or 5.
That was a risk.
Even it was like 68 or something. Like it was a lot of damage.
It was 5d8, and I had, I think, max hit points at the time I had 30 maybe, and it did 24 points of damage to me. I
That's
could
like-
like
yeah,
it
that's
was a
huge
big
risk.
risk to take, but it was like I have to do something.
It would have been terrible, but so incredible had you just killed yourself. Just-
Yeah,
You couldn't have killed yourself outright, at least though. So there's
right.
that.
I would
yeah,
have just
there's
been
no
unconscious.
insta
But
death.
Well,
Man,
Still would've been
it's the funny between the fucked is
Yeah.
what we kind of go for. I think we're just with my narrative style and how you guys play. It's
Can
a lot of
that,
funny
can that be like
moments.
easy to spell? Funny between the fucked.
we should write that down.
Funny between.
Yeah.
Write that down. Write that down.
Just a suggestion.
But
I'm writing it down.
I don't know. All in
Anyway,
all,
we got back to
Fox or to Harlan's Landing, and we saved what 3 scouts.
Yeah.
Yes. To
Yeah.
One of them who
The-
ended up becoming our cartographer, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
yeah, you guys would report back to him and give him detailed notes about your kind of traversal, and he was able to mark that all down for you.
He was the one that didn't get trapped in the tree.
Yeah.
No,
Or
they were all
he
trapped,
was
but
the
they weren't dead.
least
It-
fucked up
Yeah.
out of the 3.
Because 2
Okay.
of them had been there for a little while, and he had been in like the most recent group.
Second party. Okay, yeah, that's what that was.
Yeah, so you guys made it back to Harlan's Landing, and went around, and then you were just told, like, I gave you kind of a blank slate. I'm just like, figure out like what's going on around here. Just scout, bring us information. Like the settlement's operating blind.
I was gonna say when we got back, we saw the
Oh, you're
You're cutting out.
the
Remix.
dude
okay.
in
okay,
the
it is.
handcuffs, right?
Oh yeah. What's his name? The guy that was being
Uh,
exiled.
oh, yeah.
Elron Full Elven.
Yeah.
that his
Yeah,
last name,
and-
Full Elven.
Oh, is he actually Elven?
No, I think he's just human,
No,
but
he's full elven.
it's because it's too
That's
close
some
to
pure blood
Elrond, and
BS.
it's Elrond half Elven from Lord of the Rings, and so it's
Oh.
Elrond.
Oh, full Elven.
Oh,
Elrond all human. We'll call him all man.
Oh,
Almond.
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 Yeah,
That's his last name now. He's Elrond Almond.
It's canon.
Elron almond.
write
Yeah.
it down.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, that's you met him, somebody being exiled, your first experience with that. That's for whatever crime he had committed. Which Vala,
and
do you remember what
broke
crime?
his- Yeah. Later on, we find out that he was spying on Harlan's Landing to tell the Nalbrand Empire where I was.
Yeah.
So, dick, but it's fine.
I
To be
gotta-
clear, he was just spying for Nalbrand. It just happened that, you showed
told-
up.
I should have. Which, like, just because somebody named Vala shows up into town does not mean that she's the missing princess.
You're a princess. They
whatever.
know who you are. A good idea.
I gotta say
Citizens
though,
of the Empire.
like Raven was so nervous the whole time that Kaya's sitting there like busting this dude out. I'm like,
Yeah.
we just got here. You're gonna make us get exiled by helping
You're
this
making
dude that's
like-
getting exiled. What are you doing?
I could have talked my way out of it. That'd have been
No,
fine.
if you had been caught doing that, you would have been straight up like banished. You would have been branded and cast out, and this would have been an entirely different story, depending on whether the party was just like, yeah, we're not really all that attached to that guy.
I
Yeah.
think at that point I probably would have just been like, good riddance. Not me, but Vala.
Well, at that point, you had no reason to stay with Kaya. I mean,
Yeah.
he showed no value with the group at that point. I mean,
That could have effectively been character death.
you got to live life on the edge, you know?
Or character adjacent to the story, at least, because he would have been
Right.
exiled, probably gone to live with the exiles, and maybe we meet up with him later on, right?
Yeah, like he probably would have become an NPC unless David wanted to do like our offshoot, just Kaya in the woods, and it's me and David playing on Tuesdays.
Oh, that'd be funny.
I would have been dead very
Oh,
quickly.
Kaya,
that
make a
would've been a
survival
one-shot.
check. Hmm.
I don't have my dice. Make a survival
you
check.
imagine us, like,
Hey!
inevitably showing up to the outlaws camp and having Kaya be there
That would have been crazy.
Ugh.
with whoever our new party member would be that David was playing. That would have been
Would've
an
been fun.
interesting
Awkward.
RP moment.
More
Yeah.
likely eventuality is that we just kind of stumble across Bauer's corpse on our way to the exile camp because he couldn't figure out how to make it in the wilderness on his own.
It probably would have been like the next day because you guys left Harlan's Landing pretty quick after that to begin scouting, got a little settled, but you started going towards Falks. You probably would have just found Kaya's body there on your way there.
Assuming I had had not decided to stick with Kaya, because then at that point maybe he could have made it to Falks or elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, the Kai in the Woods offshoot is a missed opportunity.
Write it down.
I just love the fact that like they're like, hey, go scout the woods for us. We don't know much about this land, and we're like, got it. Up the shore we go.
Yeah.
The one part that's been mapped out.
Yeah.
But you gotta start with the edge of the puzzle, man.
Yeah. Oh, I want to clarify, like, in terms of scouting out the surrounding area, y'all have done nothing in terms
did
of
all
sure.
bringing peace to the region through people that know more about it than you do. You're doing great.
To be fair, we kind of went above our pay grade a little bit because we went up the shoreline. We discovered help me out with his name, the statue.
Galway.
Galway, thank you. The Galway statue. Talked to the exiles and then just went on to Falks to solve their problems and become emissaries between the two settlements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like
you
so,
kind of
we
were like,
totally.
Made
And then
ourselves far
Andrew-
more important than we were.
Andrew
Yeah.
being pissed off that we're continuing to the one spot he doesn't have planned out.
which spot?
Falks.
Falks.
Falks at the time.
Oh god, yeah,
You're
no,
like,
I wasn't
you're
expecting
giving
that to
us
go.
all these crumb trails like, hey, do this. Hey,
So many
do
plot
that.
hooks, so
and then
many.
we're like,
and-
no, Falks. Falks.
All
Keep
right.
going.
Has nothing to do with what I asked you to do. It's a different kingdom. My light just went out. No, a little bit better. But sure. All right. Falks it is. But on your way, yeah, the statue of Galway. You got the
Right.
Faybreaker Greatsword.
And was that intended? Like, were you intending me to realize the statue's sword was actually a usable weapon?
Not right off the bat like that, but you had a pretty crazy perception check, I think. Like you immediately started like cutting off the vines and like really going over the statue. I was expecting you guys to go into like the sarcophagus pit below, but you climbed it. You went up. Or Raven did.
Yeah.
Somebody did.
We did
No, it was
find
already-
No, I did.
the gin broken pot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Dow's prison.
Dow, not gin. Dow.
Yeah, and you found out that Galway was this ancient hero that had fought against the father, however many hundreds of years ago, for this old abandoned civilization, and this elemental champion that had been like set to guard his tomb. Like he was trapped, and it was like, hey, you killed this guy, you protect him. I'm going to turn on the light because get some weird feedback.
And do you remember? Does anybody remember why we didn't open the sarcophagus? Because
I
I was
just
like, there
chose
was the
not
two
to.
things.
So
Yeah, we were like, this is just we're gonna open this up and it's gonna be some zombie nonsense that we can't deal with right now.
so
But at least that was my mind.
the way that Kaya had seen it and the way that I had seen it was, oh well, I mean that's where the body's gonna be. Like we don't need to see that shit.
Yeah, that was my whole thing. It was like, y'all are saying this guy looks like me. I don't really know if I believe that, and I don't want to mess with anything that's not mine. And that's why, like, you guys were like, I mean, do you want to open it? I was like, nah, good. Like, let's just get out of here.
Nah, bro.
Not
And-
a grave robber.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys left after that. After that, you met Pecan, right?
Yeah.
The
Yep, that's where we met.
his name at the time was Dryad. Page 372 Monster Manual.
I
That
love
was-
pecan so much.
That was a fun interaction.
An
did we come
unintended
up with her
favorite
name?
NPC.
I did.
There's always one.
Vala came
But
up
wasn't
with
it
her name.
because that was her tree?
Her tree wasn't a pecan tree. She just like didn't have a name, and I told her what my name was, and she didn't have one, and so I said I'll call you Pecan or something like that.
Yeah, it was based
And
off
really
of
it was
pecan
just, like-
trees back in Nalbrand or something like that.
Yeah, the first tree that popped up into my head. So
And that was, and Pecan went, I like it. And this shall be the pecan tree. And you went, oh, that'll be confusing.
yeah.
Which tells that like it's fun to have characters that have kind of stuck like that, and I'm glad that.
But it's
Yeah.
always the most random one, like a, a hapless dryad sitting in her tree in the middle of a forest. It's not like it happens to be, the king or any important notable name of any of the settlements. Just some dryad in a tree. That's the one that sticks.
Yeah.
Oh. Which I do want to fast forward us a little bit more to Falks. Like you ran into a couple like just random encounter kind of things in the forest. I think
Oh no!
on our
Hold
way
on.
to Falks there was
Hold on.
an important encounter. I think Will.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
that's the one I wanted to talk about.
this
Actually,
is
I thought you were
pretty.
going to take us
That
all
was
the way to Falls.
yeah. This one was pretty minor. I don't know if you want to talk about it. It wasn't a
Pretty
huge.
minor. Yeah, it wasn't a
Yeah,
big,
it wasn't
big deal.
wasn't a big like background revealing event or anything like that.
Character
So
changing
before I
at
even
all.
talk about it, I want everybody's opinions on what they thought was happening. Your reactions, etc., etc.
Well, I mean, I believe Kaya had the same kind of feeling everybody else did, or the same same interaction. The old man died of a heart attack.
For
I
for
mean,
me, like being a new player, like I saw you die, and I was like, he can't like just do that, right? Like he can't just like kill someone. Like
That's
I'd
he'll
like to
be
because of
back,
clarify.
rules,
right?
right?
Like the whole
I
time I'm sitting there going, like he's not actually dead, right? And then like in our conversations outside, it was like, no, he's dead, but I couldn't like I was like, but
dead.
no, but like, are you kidding? Or like like
Yeah,
what's
You're
gonna
fucking with me,
happen?
right?
Yeah.
I kept
So
netting and asking him, like, you're not really dead, right? Like, you're not dead. And he was like, yeah, I am. And you're just making me make a new character.
I wanted
Yeah.
to steer into it hard.
I
Yeah, I thought that was kind of fun.
I thought you all handled that really well because like I played it out separately with Will and then played it like again kind of with you guys with the different and it worked out really nicely. And then yeah, Orelton just keeling over because he had to meet List in the place between where
Yeah.
gods and spirits can mingle because not all gods, she's not a powerful enough god to walk on the earth just like anybody else. She has to bind herself to something.
Right now.
And that something is you, my friend.
Or was at the time. Well, I guess technically still
Yeah,
is,
no,
right?
she still is bound to you. It's just become something a little different.
Yeah.
Um,
A little bit more of that
oh,
strength left.
we almost because David, you had some encounters with something from beyond with your dream sequences, and
There was two of them. The
yeah,
first one, I believe we were camping out. I'm not sure if this was on the way to the puppetry or back or whatever, but yeah, he had seen what was like almost like a goat figure, in like a really tall, like I imagine personally like a tall, lanky, like goat head that just completely black and shrouded out, and just like leaning over him and immediately waking up and screaming at everybody in a terrible accent, might I add, that they needed to wake up and get going. And then shortly after, another one of me dreaming of a wolf, and then sure as shit waking up and there's one standing in my face.
that was some intense shit, and I was like, this is actually super cool to like see like this shadow interaction that's happening, and it really made me question everything I thought about Kaya and where he had come from. I was like, where's this shadow shit coming from?
But
But I still don't think we've really uncovered that, have we? Have
no,
we?
no, we haven't dug into that at all.
We've talked about the old man. That's the reason you have the
What's
handprint.
that? The handprint.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've
That's-
touched on a lot of your guys' like backstory stuff, but I think hardly any of it's been addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
We came there was almost a meeting with the deity because there was a moment too where Raven was praying in the forest. Um, but you met somebody other than a god
I did.
that in our conversation, I want to talk about this a little bit because in our conversations made me realize some unexpected consequences of me responding to prayers. Because you prayed to you worshiped the god of the forest, you prayed to the god of the forest, and then Mythali showed up,
Who is not the god of the
and
forest?
who's not the god of the forest, but you started commenting to me like, "Oh yeah, this like the father is Durin, right? Like he's the god of nature." And I went, "Oh fuck,
I mean,
no,
that's Raven's feeling right now is like that, and that's why his interaction. We'll talk about that later, but that's why his interaction was the way it was, is because every time, like, he's talking to this figure, and then things are happening, and so it just makes sense that this person that overwatches the forest is the person I'm talking to,
yeah,
and Mythali saying like, "Father's heard you," is like, holy
Uh,
shit, like my things I'm saying, I'm praying about, are going through, and like it's like justification for everything I'm doing. And yeah, that whole interaction really
yeah." And
shaped.
that's a and I don't want to like take away from anything that's coming up like anytime soon, but the thing that cracks me up is to me the father was never like my thought process was you were praying to a nature god
Hmm.
in a forest that is overrun with like fey magics and a single person that like protects this portion of the forest. Like yeah, he's going to like pick up on what you're putting out there, and so it kind of just worked out in a really neat way where it's like, oh, this nebulous kind of not very godlike figure
Hmm.
uh becoming sort of adjacent to your own character's deity has been fun. And I guess we'll yeah get back to that when yeah actually meet the father. But yeah, you met Mythali and learned a bit. Sorry.
No, you're good. I
Yes.
had a quick hardcore backtrack that if we could just touch on it and bounce back.
Yeah.
When we were back at Alessandra's portal, you had mentioned footprints that came out of the earth. Oh no, that was probably the Dow. You had
That was
mentioned
a Dow, yeah.
the mean lady, or Alessandra had mentioned the mean lady. Was
Yeah.
that Mythali?
Yeah. Mythali is
Yeah.
kind of a bitch. I don't know if you picked up on that recently.
Yeah, she's not real nice. Okay,
She's
that's
very much yeah. No, she was definitely talking about Mythali. That's Mythali and the Dow had showed up and kind of futzed with a tablet and
I just gotta say, I'm so happy that my dice were hot that night, rolling a natural 20 and then a fucking 100 on my D100, like, and just getting everything that you could possibly give
yeah.
me.
Yep.
Like,
Just to give you a
It's
lot of it was a ton of information I dumped on you guys right there.
yeah.
Yeah, what else? Because yeah, I almost fast forwarded us to Falks and missed two meetings with gods or near god figures, and
the Tressum tree, real important. Real important. The
yes,
Tressum tree.
yeah, which is a lot of fun. It's a primal ancient tree out of Tasha's
Cauldron. Or,
cauldron of everything. Uh, I pulled that up. It was just an encounter. I'm like, I have a table, and if it's a point of interest, I just choose something that seems fun. And I chose that, and it was like, oh, these primal trees, Tressums hang out around. Mess with that, and then I'm like, yeah, what did cats? Cats get into shit, and so I chose one of you, and it started rummaging around in your backpack as y'all were investigating the tree.
and now I
And
have a
now
tail.
just take it.
Soon enough
Now
became
keep
a
solid.
pet, or at
Yeah,
least
it's
partially.
kind of a pet. Just kind of hangs out when y'all have moments where it's not too dangerous to do it. It comes and rummages around in Mike's backpack.
Yeah.
It's a pet in the same respect any cat is a pet. It
Yeah.
Yeah,
handles us and deals with us and then takes our shit when it's convenient for it.
yeah, and it can just fly, so it can much more easily stay out of trouble. The trick to any DMs wondering how to keep your players' pets alive: just forget that they're there most of the time.
They're there. Yeah.
Too funny.
Which has 100% been a pet that I have just kind of forced on Raven. Like, very much like a stray cat. Like, it
I
got
mean,
food
it's
from you once and it won't
yeah,
leave
it's
you alone.
just like a cat. If you feed a cat, it's your cat now.
Yeah, it
Yep.
was not anything like it wasn't like Mike like I feel like Raven needs a pet or something. It was me just being like Raven's got a pet, kind of.
Non-consensual
Oh.
pet ownership.
Yep.
Non-consensual is also the theme of Falks. Now that we're getting there,
Yep,
Absolutely
okay.
true. Fantastic segue.
The Endless Revel, Falks. You guys showing up to a massive, magically developed city, full of drunk, incompetent people.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
King of the
100%
Mead.
at some point you were gonna have us walk into an orgy, and that was gonna be
Yeah, but I have to like
so
describe that
weird.
shit. I didn't want to do that.
He's the one that has to describe it. So
and
you know,
then it's no
there's that.
longer on YouTube, and you just missed that entire session.
That's what
Right.
fanfic is for, right? You let the fans
Yeah,
write
fan
that
fiction.
shit.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Get some fans. At 100, we get a script and maybe some fan fiction.
Well, we can do without the fan fiction. The script maybe, but
I just want nothing but Kaya and Goatman fan fiction
no.
here on out. You heard it, internet. Get in the comments.
Oh.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, you guys showing up. What did you think? Like, because it was a very contrasting image I tried to paint. What were your thoughts getting into Falks?
I thought, well, originally I thought so. Fox had a thing where there was some fey creatures that were in part of the revel, some satyrs, which are very revel-like creatures. And originally we're like, oh, hey, these guys are the issue here. Like, these guys are definitely the issue. And we start going along with that track and turn around and we find out, that's probably not so much of the truth there. And then we end up getting to, it was the governor's house of Falks,
Okay,
or
hold on.
whatever you want to call them. Oh,
Yeah.
Before
we're
we get to the
skipping over-
governor's house, we have two very important characters to touch on. The King of the Mead.
King of the
And
Look
Mead!
at
Gaston.
the maid!
The King of the Mead! I mean,
And the lovingly titled Gaston, because I didn't. It's just all that comes into my head.
Oh, I thought she was
Uh,
talking about Englain as the second important character.
England
So
didn't
anyway-
really come out.
Okay.
England was an exposition tool, I think, more than anything.
yeah.
Oh, there was the big guy that I tried to intimidate and failed and thought that I was hitting on him.
Yep.
Gaston, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I forgot
Yeah.
completely
That's what you get for
about that.
winking at him
And same
before
thing.
talking to him.
First thing he thought that I tried to threaten him, and he thought I was coming on to him too.
The one time my my
You all need to be
charisma
less-
failed me.
It wasn't your charisma; it was his perception.
Oh,
It was
rolled
his
hella
insight.
low.
Yeah, or his insight. Yeah.
And it's with all y'all with your like kind of what's the word? Not clear threats. Like it's not like a back off or I'll kill you. It's like you want a good time or a bad time. Like I want a good time. Like
Oh, you're letting me choose? I go for the good
this is gonna go
time.
it's gonna be the good way or the bad way. Which way you want it? Whichever way you're giving it to me. Like you guys kept giving me stuff that I'm like, I mean, yeah, this is a big drunk like frat bro, where no
like-
means maybe, and you're not giving him a firm anything.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
glad he got drug off back into the revel by whatever large, burly, horny woman drug him back there.
right?
Uh,
You're ready. He was held personed and yeah, dragged off into the revel by a crowd.
But yeah, well, then we met up with the King of the Mead, who, yeah, was a very big drunk person. That, well, I mean, was.
I mean, he
we'll
was
just
not
leave
very
it at
big. He was a
that.
halfling. He was a
Well, okay,
halfling.
but he was
on a
very, very big
he's
for a
a-
halfling.
very rotund halfling on a crown with a crown of something and a throne of casks. And he's going. That was a little ridiculous, but I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a fun little moment.
I love
dude.
King of the Mead. I thought that was like as far as NPCs you brought to the table, just I felt you were the most comfortable with
Take
that
it
one.
away.
Like you were just going off on it, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, that's it's nice introducing non hostile, not very particularly useful, and
Non-serious.
clearly not useful. Like you guys didn't spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out like what's he doing here.
Hmm.
Why is this chair in the middle of the room?
Yeah.
We did find that portal in his basement, basically, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
the
did,
cellar.
and that's
And that's what we thought I mean, that was like a tangent.
That's-
Why was that there?
Yeah, that's where our suspicions to the satyrs came into play, which was, I
Yeah.
believe, on our way to the governor's office
Yeah.
when we
So-
actually ran into the satyrs.
you guys never really pursued it, but the portal had opened. The portal had been there for a while. It was a well-established portal. The king of the Mead had been dealing with like the Fae, like the satyrs and their revelries, and buying their wine and mead and bringing them back.
Oh, and we cucked him by
Okay.
closing it, didn't we?
Yeah. So you closed that off, but you never really pursued. You're like, oh yeah, the satyrs are definitely causing this, and he was like ripping off the satyrs and stuff. But yeah, some of the enchantment that was causing this rebel had kind of seeped through and drawn some of those pretty much harmless fake creatures like through the portal, and they're like, let's join the party. Which again, Kai had another flirtatious experience with a satyr and a naiad.
Well,
this time.
it wasn't really his doing, though. Let's be
No,
real.
it
here.
wasn't. It was a very flirtatious satyr and then an enchantment from a naiad as you gazed upon her beauty. Which is fun. Which we'll get back to them in a minute, I think, because we going back. You made it to the governess's house, found that it had been ransacked with the body of the assassin. You found like the member of the Knight's Eye clan. You rummaged around, I talked about it in our recap. You found the documents about that crystal shard, the shard of change, one of a set of artifacts that Raven's uncle had taken to Aratas and had trying to hide it, keep it away from people.
And that's the
Like-
only one we've heard about thus far, right?
Well,
Yeah.
other
Is
than
the chain shard?
There were the notes about the other one that there were other shards, but this is the only one you have any solid information on.
yeah, and we assume that's what. Well, I guess we've kind of decided that's potentially what O'Relton's, like stole for the people, or like we're getting for the people that he was working for that cut his throat.
Yeah.
We had kind of
Right.
thought like, okay, one of the shards, that's potentially what's going on with that. But other than
Right.
that, we don't really have anything.
Yeah.
That's the only one we have a generalized location of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And sorry, kicking things forward because that was a big like exposition dump episode. But as you guys stepped through that door on the way out of Ladderlai's house, probably one of the hardest hitting moments, literally and emotionally, I think we've had.
There was definitely another hard-hitting moment, but
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying one of the major ones. You guys running into Tara, the Eyes of the Valkyrie, the first of Vala's sisters that you all encountered.
Man, that
Yeah.
whoo, that episode, I had to take a minute afterwards. That was a
Yeah, I'm gonna let
Oh,
Rachel. Rachel, I'm gonna let you lead the conversation on this one. This was
So, for those of you just catching up, we stepped outside of the door. Essentially, we found this note on the door telling Vala that she needed to come home. And when we essentially approached the situation, this blind huntress archer tried to take us all out with like magic arrows. And was it Raven? You opened up a portal, right?
Yep.
And then stuck around instead of running to the portal after you told us all to follow, and almost got killed.
So I cast the portal from that cracked tablet and took damage, knowing that this was potentially our only way out. And I started to run towards the portal, but instead of I couldn't get it there and in my whole movement. So instead of hiding, I stood out in the open and took 2 shots from Terra and got knocked unconscious, and the
Yeah,
portal closed.
and her bow prevented healing. Like you couldn't heal until the beginning of her next turn or the end of her next turn. And
A
I
realm
mean that
drags me back
burnt.
in, and then
Tried to heal you.
tried to heal me a couple times, and the one moment that I thought for sure my character was dead was when Vala chose not to shut the door.
Yep, and he's just laying there on the ground, right in the line
And
of fire through the
But I
doorway.
was standing there.
right, but then Andrew saying,
just thought
"Do
that,
you shut the door?" I was like, "Please shut it. Please shut it. Please shut
Yeah,
it. Please shut
because
it."
Tara's got sharpshooter. Unless he's fully covered, she's
Yeah, well,
She
I
gonna
mean,
kill
ignored
you.
it.
in
Yeah.
Vala's mind, like, she was in the way, but, like, she needed to communicate somehow and stop the situation.
Yeah,
And if
man,
you
that
hadn't
was
missed, you missed twice while I was unconscious.
Oh, yeah.
If those don't miss, I'm dead. Like, Raven's not a thing anymore.
yeah. It
And
was
oof.
yeah.
And it was,
That was close.
we were
And again,
essentially saved by, what, Orelton? You saw the owl?
Yeah,
Yeah, the worst part about that
goddamn,
was
that
that
fucking owl.
every player knew what the fuck was going on, and no character knew what the fuck was
I
going on.
would like to point something out. I never asked any of you for an intelligence check, anything like that.
N-
You were making intelligence checks on your own to like avoid metagaming, which I loved because I wasn't going to be like, I'm not going to tell you it's a familiar. Like if somebody shoots the owl, they shoot the owl. That's the kill button for this fight. But you all were like, intelligence check. Nope. And I'm like, I don't know what the DC. Like I don't have a DC here. Like,
Yep, we set it for ourselves.
yeah.
And if memory
which-
serves,
I
I
mean,
was
like-
getting single digits.
That's
For
all I
every
have.
one of those.
I think the highest until we actually got it was a 7.
yeah.
Well, just, I mean, I feel like that would have needed to happen. Like, it just, like,
No, it
if
was
we'd just
appropriate.
gone with our backup, it would have been too easy. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's using meta to fix
Meta.
the fight.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been fun at all.
Yeah, which I appreciate you guys not doing that because that was one of the things I'm like, this is a difficult fight. I need to put this in to kind of balance it out a little bit more, give them a soft target that changes the dynamic of the fight. Again, for people at home, the owl, she had a familiar, she had a special item that allowed her to maintain her own like awareness while looking through her familiar's eyes, and it was just dropping bombs from 400 and something feet away.
Familiar was essentially
Sharpshooting.
her eyesight so she could see
Yeah,
because she was
and just
blind.
specifically a person that had trained that method of combat. That was intense. But yeah, Relton melted the owl.
Via acid breath spray.
Raven got brought back up to consciousness, and then the party rushed her,
That was
brought
like
her down.
no stopping. That was just full out get to her and kill her.
Yeah.
We did, and then Orelton brought her back.
But not for himself or any nefarious reason.
No,
Orelton just figured Vala still wanted to talk to her. If she was actually
Yeah.
her sister, which Orelton thought at the time, you probably want your sister to be alive, right? You'd have something to say to your sister. So
that moment where you brought her back and she started saying something and Vala just like socked her in the face, just knocked her out really quick. and you went, "This is a very limited resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay,
was
Let's
like,
not do that." And you brought her back, and then Raven just fucking murdered her.
yeah. There was no talk, nothing about that.
That
Just
was the big switch, like the happy-go-lucky Raven to like dark Batman motherfucker.
Some skeletons in the closet came out
Yeah.
in that moment with Raven, and that like I'm so glad I got the opportunity to like be like, no, 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 no. I'm checking this bow out, and I don't just let it go. This bitch is dead. Like, and just and
maybe
like that.
I'm not.
Go ahead.
Maybe I'm not picking it up, but I. You said something at the time of family doesn't kill family,
Hmm.
and even to like the point where we're at currently, I don't quite understand why that would upset Raven so bad. Because his family was killed, we think, but not by your own family, right?
That's just a moral he lives by. That's not
Oh,
what
it wasn't
triggered that.
anything.
No, the thing that triggered that was the ambush, because that's how his parents
Oh.
died. Was
It's through an
Oh,
ambush.
through an
okay.
ambush, and so that triggered him. And the only person that knows that right now is Vala because of our conversation. But yeah, like it was the full on ambush and just complete brutality. We didn't come out firing at you. We came out unarmed, ready to go about our day, and you brutally continued without conversation. And you killed me. So
That's
Yeah,
what there's that.
there's that. In this villainess's defense, she left a note that said, "Come home. Don't make me force you."
yeah, but you didn't give me more than 4 seconds,
Yeah,
Actually, she gave you the entire amount of time that you were in that building.
yeah, and
which was not a lot of time.
and that's why
and,
she's dead.
and she made the call. She's like, "All right, let's make Vala come home." And I
Yeah,
was
this entire
she
time
so
I thought it was the family doesn't kill family thing. I had that in the back of my head the entire
I did
time. So
too.
it was a good line.
Huh.
Keep on.
Which
Which
kinda
can we talk about? Hey, raise your hand if the family doesn't kill family line hit you somewhere where it hurts.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. I have no idea.
you gotta have a
Because
family to kill one.
that was
Yeah,
Oh.
one of my favorite fucking moments. Because you're like, family doesn't kill family, and I immediately looked at Kaya and Vala, and they're both just
Oh.
yeah, totally. Family doesn't the thing you said.
yeah, hit her again, Raven.
And I think it was like right after that, like within the next day's thing, that I told Raven that she wasn't actually my sister. We just referred to her as my sister because
And then a
Vala had
couple
a
days
crush
after
on
that, you're like,
Raven at this point. So she was like, "Fuck, I'm fucking things up."
Oh no.
It's okay. You fucked it up later too.
Yeah, yeah,
It happened again.
it's fine.
But no, and I think Raven really like, and that's kind of where the burying thing came in. Is like, you don't kill your family, but you still take care of your family no matter what. Like you always take care of them. So that's where like, after spying on the Night's Eye, he was like, you know what? I went off a little bit, and I need to mend or fix that because my clan, my party, my people, they mean the world to me. And so he took that opportunity to go bury Tara and ensure that that was taken care of, that that story had closed properly, and it wasn't fully negative, that there was a positive outcome at the end. So that was kind of his thought process in burying her.
which that was such an emotional, like, it was
Yeah.
a heavy episode following that big combat one because that
Yeah,
And then we get to O'Relton just brutally spreading blood across the sword.
Yeah, that face is the face Vala had the entire time, right there.
And
Yeah.
she,
So
because she
To be
wasn't right
fair, it was
there through
dead.
all of that leading up to it. All
She
she
just came
saw
back.
was you with the naiad that was dead with its heart. Didn't realize that it had been dead before, and you're like drawing heart across the. Oh my gosh, she was just like,
let's talk. So really quick, building up you found the amulet on the assassin's body that allowed whoever was holding it to kind of pierce through that veil of illusion that made everything look like it was fine. Going back through the city, you guys were realizing like people are fucked up, like decaying while still alive, like just drinking, not resting, not sleeping, not able to, like looking miserable. The satyr and dryad that you found the day before, because you had rested up after that combat. The naiad had died overnight, just ill kept. And let's talk about Faybreaker for just a sec, because I handed you a weapon I never thought you'd be willing to use. Like it was going to be like if things go south with the Fae and you full side like let's go settlements, burn the forest, let's do this. Orelton got that sword, and I didn't realize you were itching to use it.
Yeah. Well, because I think like for Orelton, he was a mercenary way back when, so having the upper hand, having the bigger stick, as it were, is a huge thing. And the caution of the wind, fuck it, devil may care, let's do this shit, has kind of always been his mentality. So let's fire this bad boy up and see what it can do.
Yeah, and what it can do is if you're attuned to it. So for everybody at home that is not either 100% aware or is catching up, Fatebreaker Greatsword, a ambiguous rarity greatsword, very specific, carved out of ironwood. This ancient sword used to fight against the Fae and the Father's minions. Dealt a ridiculous like 40-12 extra damage to Fae creatures or something when attuned. It has the downside of when you're tuned, any Fae is immediately hostile to you. There's no conversation. There's no like, let's talk this out. It is they are set on killing you. There's an evil taint about this sword in regards to Fae. Not evil, we should say. It's the Fae bad touch. They recognize intrinsically that a heart of a sentient Fae creature was used in attuning to it. It was a bad weapon, but it makes it perfectly is geared towards letting you kill Fae. And
it has all the fire abilities for burning down. Like it lets you cast Burning Hands and Fireball for burning down forests, and like everything about this is just designed to scorch the earth, as it were.
I just gotta say, like, Raven doesn't ever want to see that used. Mike is like dying to see a situation where that happened, and like you just go to town with this fucking sword.
We are going up against the Dow.
I know.
Got to find another Fae to kill, because that's the only way I get to reattune to it. But when we were and we haven't, I don't think we've got to this point yet, but when we get into the Assassin's Guild where we're breaking out Ladrillai, there's a part where I kick in a door and cast Fireball from the hilt of the sword. And yeah, that's where that comes from, is good old Faybreaker. So
yeah, that whole thing was crazy. I cannot believe Kaya talked his way into that fucking building.
All the way, yeah. So I cast Alter Self. We went back to the governor's office. We took the dude's clothes that was dead. Alter Self allowed me. He was missing a finger and had a weird ring on it. Threw that ring on there, and it was actually your perception check that saved us. Actually, because I would have walked up there, and I wouldn't have had shit to say to the guy, because apparently there's some passcode that you had to say to walk in, and you know, and everything there. And but yeah, I mean, just a few good rolls, and here I was at the back of this building where Ladrillai was imprisoned, and I was quote unquote torturing her.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was also its own tense series of rolls and checks with
man.
you.
You were
I
just
was stressing.
so
I-
many good rolls.
Oh,
I
just
got lucky. Like I don't think I don't remember exactly, but I don't think I rolled below like it was like a
15?
12 or something like that. Yeah, I did not roll low at all.
yeah, and that was you just infiltrating this assassin's base. Yeah, if Mike hadn't, or if Raven hadn't like staked him out the night before and figured out
Right.
information, brought that to you, like that would have gone so many different ways.
Well, and then O'Relton coming in with the
Sterling
clutch,
Archer approach.
yeah, with the whole
Yeah.
like, oh man, I cast acid breath on his face, like,
Fucking rolled in, and you guys went. That was another pretty like tense combat, but you rolled through pretty hard. We were able to break this up. That was
Yeah, that
nuts.
baddie at
Sharpshooter
the
kinda
end, though.
helped.
Say again.
I was saying, remembering I had sharpshooter definitely helped.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Oh, you're
the
talking.
baddie at the end of that with the stiletto daggers. What were
Oh.
they? The aura of murder or whatever you said that
Oh
was?
yeah,
What was
the aura
they
bird.
were
So
fucking
anybody within 5 feet of him had vulnerability to piercing damage,
Oh yeah, that's right.
and so yeah, that was
and of course he's in the back just gutting me.
it. Just kept stabbing. Gaia. I kept rolling so low on that damage though, so
It's a good thing because I think
Like-
he was like down to 5 or something like that.
I had like so little HP.
yeah, that was fucked. But you made through it, and yeah, and I'm pretty sure you killed him pretty much on your own, and the rest of the party like murdered, like walked through, like not walked through. Vala kind of staved in some skulls in a doorway.
And then proceeded to tell this guy that we interrogated, be more like us, or something along the lines of, or follow the path of the righteous.
Take
as
the
there's
high
just
road,
dead
and he's-
bodies everywhere.
Corpses. You're all covered in blood. It's a dude whose face has been melted behind a Relton.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
Fucking- you
Nalbrand,
guys are-
death is part of the high road. So
Y'all have tried to high road me a couple times, I think, and I'm like, fucking excuse me.
And then we got there's a little bit of info about Melrose Gagar, a guy that Kaya was looking for
Yeah,
a
tied
friend
back into
in
your
prison,
backstory.
and yeah.
Um,
Long story short, intimidated the shit out of him to basically make him
send you
send a note to Tarley at the Giants Rest under John Smith, a very original name.
very
and,
uncommon name. I've never heard of a name like that in this world.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
have we figured out why Kaya's looking for Melrose?
No, we just
Yeah.
know. There's
No, I've told you it's
Got it.
it's my I've got a friend. I don't remember if I've ever told you his name, but Neck is what I call him, Asnick. I'm pretty sure I told you he asked me to find this person because he was framed by this person, and that's why he
Oh,
was in
that's right.
jail.
That's right.
And he's the guy that saved Kaya's life while he was in prison, not more than once.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a revenge, like going out for revenge for your friend.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you guys tackled the Assassin's Guild, you were able to pretty well fix the overlying problem with Falks. There's some underlying things, infrastructure,
Night's
touch
Eye.
base, back again with,
I can handle.
yeah, Ledla was able to handle that, who we touched base with her connections with Raven's family and like being an old family friend. She gave you all rewards for helping save the city, some neat magical items. And promised to help you out if you need anything else, which came in handy pretty quick afterwards.
Yep.
You get, because after Falks, you made your way all the way back to Harlan's Landing. Um, and then there's all the weird shit. Like there's the fire in Renault's house, the governor's. He was all burnt up. All the holes in the wall
I have to
and stuff
say,
like that.
I don't know if you intended it at this point, but that threw me for such a hard loop because I thought those two things were connected. The fire in the governor's house and whatever was breaking into Harlan's Landing.
Yep,
And I
this is
just could not piece it together. Like, what the
different
fuck is
threads.
happening?
I was okay. The holes. You never followed up on the holes. There have been pretty much a colony of red cap, like evil, like Fey assassins that had broken into the city and were waiting for the small army to attack.
I hope they're still there.
That
I want them to be there still.
it's fully a moot point because now there's like the peace and the father's
Well,
like,
yeah,
don't
we've got-
attack them.
yeah.
And so there's a bunch of just fucked up Fey like hiding in the rafters of all these different houses.
Oh,
Did you say
shit. What do
red
I do
cap?
now?
I'm imagining
up-
them as like tiny toads from.
If you've got
Mario?
if you've got D&D Beyond open, pull up a red cap.
A red cap.
What?
Yeah, which
Oh,
they're different things. No, the fire at Renault's place and everything, that was fully Renault being replaced.
Yeah, I
Oh my
figured.
God,
I
Yeah.
figured that was the case.
There
And
is
then,
there is a theme or a trend with that particular person setting a fire as a distraction and then using the distraction to murder the shit out of somebody.
Oh,
Which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, you guys fully ignoring the I think Rachel found red caps.
yeah.
They were so cute. But
They
anyway,
are. They're like evil toads, though.
Yeah. But those two big plot threads, you guys are like, now we should go into the forest and meet the exiles. As you proceeded on it, I'm like,
I don't think we've ever
Follow
been pushed harder in a direction by
the
anything
path.
ever.
Yeah.
yeah.
follow the path.
Just so you know,
I'm like-
those tracks you found
go.
happen to go in the same direction that you're saying you're wanting to go if you want to follow them.
If you would like to follow them, they're slightly off of your track.
If the DM
'Cause-
mentions something more than once, it's probably important.
Because
And
y'all had
what
come.
was it? Like-
had,
Sorry,
Did
the
we get you a
episode
sign that
right
says
before
plot
that. Go on.
Can we get you a sign that says plot hook? So when
I
you're
don't
giving
think I
us
need a
information,
sign.
it'll be just like a Wile E. Coyote thing that you hold up next to you, just plot hook. Blah.
I'll just flash it.
Yeah.
You
We
just
might
change your
need it.
lights behind you to like red.
Yeah.
Bing.
This might be
Bing,
important.
bing, bing.
It's like a teacher. This might be on the test.
Yeah, which ended up leading you to an army of tiny people that I was expecting to be this big combat encounter. Which, again,
Oh, Lord.
and sorry to railroad. I know we're just pushing time for our recap, and so helping spur things along. Like I was expecting this tiny army thing. I had combat plans drawn up on how everything was going to work, like mechanically. For you guys just to mow down some, some like tiny soldiers. And Kaya talking him down, and then Orelton the second time doing something I did not expect, which is unattuning the Fey Greatsword.
Well, I had imagined the way I'd imagined it is when he'd attuned it, you don't know the effects of a magical item, right? So he had attuned
Yeah,
it.
not really.
He'd attuned it and then experimented with it and figured out what it did. And when that satyr just came at him within the decrepit, decayed state he was, still wanting nothing else than to kill Orelton. That was kind of like Faybreaker. I get it.
no.
I get what this is doing here. So when we rolled up on the tiny army, I just imagined him looking over his shoulder back at the hilt of Faybreaker and being like, "Ooh,
Oh
Yeah.
no.
yeah."
Yeah.
And so walk because we knew we were walking into what is it, the Court of Stars,
Court of
Father's
Lights.
realm, Court of Lights.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there's no way Overelton was going to walk in there just enemy
with,
to all.
with that, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was either don't
But-
walk in or unattuned.
Yeah, and it worked out. You guys were able to meet with the father, which I thought was a pretty fun encounter.
Um, should we just finish where we're close?
We can just finish out.
Yeah, let's just finish up.
Um, yeah, so the Ents, though, going in to see the father, those buddies, and realizing that, like, what we'd seen in the portal in Falks that got, like, slinked off was, like, one of their fingernails.
Mhm.
That was a cool
And-
connection.
Yeah, and I thought that was fun that you guys thought that was the father. You're like, that must have been him. It's like, no, it's one of his bodyguards. And I think I was able to use that to kind of subvert what your expectations of the father were. Like him being an archfey was a little bit more playful. Like
Imagine him being a
rules that-
huge asshole. I'm being honest with you. I don't know where I got that vibe from, but
Yeah, he
I
was
just
just
imagine
sort
him
of
being this like
I
old,
I
fat.
imagined,
long-bearded
I imagined a grumpier Orelton.
saying something.
oh,
Maybe less dragon
Yeah.
looking.
Little less dragon looking, more leaves, more green, but a grumpier Orelton.
I originally thought of him as like Santa Claus, and then when we met him, I thought of him as like in. Can I make LOTR references? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Sure.
We
always.
talked about Mario
Yeah,
a minute ago.
sure.
Yeah.
Like, In Lord of the Rings, the dude who's got like the brown hair that's at the
You're gonna make a lot of people mad.
at the
now.
Elven City. Yes, I'm gonna make a lot of people very uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I haven't
Including
seen
Andrew right now.
The
who's
dude
like
with brown hair at the Elven City. Okay.
who's like he's got the
What's
like
happening?
sharp eyebrows and he's the dad.
We
Oh, the
mentioned his
Elven
name
guy?
earlier.
Elrond?
Oh, okay, yeah, Elrond.
Elrond
Yeah.
half
Thank you for
elven.
doing the eyebrows, by the way. Can you do it one more time? Because it was spot on.
Yeah, his
You
dead
mean
ass on, too.
you mean the agent
Yeah.
from the Matrix?
The agent. Yeah.
But I imagine him like that, like kind of like looks sort of evilly and devilish and very self-righteous and pretentious and entitled.
I mean, a little pretentious, but it was very much a more like, are y'all gonna stop fucking with my shit? Like,
I pretty much
Gonna knock it
pictured-
off?
Drink.
I pretty much pictured just a massive satyr. Like
Yeah.
a really fucking tall satyr.
um,
But
yeah. Well, I hope I was able to surprise y'all
Yeah.
individually then with
Oh yeah.
Well, and
Mr.
the meal out of midair, that was probably my favorite part of that entire thing.
Relton
Fucking-
just being like, huh.
Yeah.
Hey, try this.
You leg and a
try
plate
that.
of cookies. Yeah.
It's just every
Just
time we
like
cut back, you're like, and he's
every couple
Relton's
minutes, like,
holding.
yeah,
Something different.
he's got a plate of quesadillas, some cookies, some
Sour cream
watermelon.
on his
like,
mouth
yeah.
one time. Yeah.
You did
Yes.
a great job of bringing some comedy into that situation.
Yeah,
that
you
we were
talk
all
about
like,
the mead.
"This is tense."
Yeah, you talk about the Mead King being the character of the lasting impression, but I feel like the both the times that you've met with the father has been
yeah.
like
True.
almost comical compared to what it should be, being this big important character.
That's the nature of the
Um,
Fae, right? Like, just a little more playful.
David, have we touched on what memory you got with the wine? That's the
That has
emotion
not
wine.
been
No,
released
that-
because
that
I have
did-
that
that
question that
never
I
came
want to
up.
ask. We should not touch on that.
Okay.
Never came up.
Okay. We won't fuck with that. Which I guess the rest of that was you guys negotiating again above your pay grade for an extra couple days to get the leaders of the settlements together. Which you were given 5 more days. You went and met with Mithalai, or you met with Renault, let him know what was going on. He started organizing everybody in case things went worse, or Renault, I should say. And then met went and met with Mythali. You found out her whole deal with the Tao and the exiles living in peace with the forest because they surrendered their like free will, as they would follow the law of the Tao and what he said was the right path, which allowed them to live in peace, which I don't think any of you were expecting.
No.
Not at all.
And again, why did you invite her to the meeting?
I think
That
that was a mistake. We all forgot. We all didn't really realize why we were there. We were just like, hey, let's go hang
I
out.
expected to like the exiles a lot more.
and
Well,
that's
I think what part of the issue was is that she, like, we got to talking to her and she basically seemed like the leader, and we're like, well, and after we had talked to the father said, well, I can't exactly say for like Mythali because they kind of do their own thing, which is part of the reason why we were there. And we're like, well, shit, we need to make peace with the exiles as well. So I think that's
yeah,
part of the reason why she was invited.
yeah. Which
And then
sh-
after we
this-
had invited her, I was like, we've got to figure out some way to do Aldenstead too.
which you settled pretty quick by just
Being Aldenstead's
like
voice.
I speak for Aldenstead, and you fully well can, being their princess. You just have to accept that title and not to
Yeah, you might have
foreshadow
to
anything. But that's gonna come up eventually. It's gonna come around.
I know. I
But you got what? 7 other sisters to answer for? 6 other sisters?
5 now, yeah.
5.
To 5?
5, yeah,
Yeah.
because
Eve
one
is
of the
dead.
twins died
One of the
Oh,
twins
that's
died
right,
in
yeah.
the siege.
in siege. Oh,
Which
Yeah,
we got
crazy.
that word right after leaving, I believe, when you went to contact her to get it was Svetla, I believe.
Mhm.
When you went to contact Svetla, and she had ended up telling you that, yeah, your other sister had died.
Yeah. And the Aldenstead is under siege, meaning to put the rush on peace talks so you could figure shit out. Ladrillai just teleported to you guys. She's like, yeah, be right there. This is exactly what I want. And
I gotta say,
uh,
Kaya getting fucking booted by a god or a goddess, I should say.
oh god, yeah, you guys going back
Amazing.
to the Galalway's tomb and actually descending into the
Start
tomb
quick.
itself.
You guys hear that
Was
creepy voice? Like, what the-
insult. Okay, moral of that story is do not insult a goddess in what she just tells you is her like one of her sanctums.
yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, Kaya's not intelligent whatsoever. And I mean, he's like, there's some creepy ass voice talking some nonsense in here. What the fuck?
And everybody else is talking to it like it's normal. Maybe you just roll with it.
Oh yeah, everyone's talking like normal, and I'm like, is no one else gonna be creeped out by this? Like,
Booted.
That makes sense though, because like we all have a god that we talk to and pray to.
Well, and this
and
is
blah,
the
blah,
god
blah.
I talk to.
Yeah. So it wasn't weird
Yeah.
to me. It was like I had just been talking with who I presumed was my deity, and this is
Kaya
normal.
is definitely the religion outcast. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
That's true.
Yeah.
Speaking of religious transitions, though, I don't think it was a huge deal to you all, but O'Relton's transition back in with List. I have to ask, did that throw you for a loop, Andrew? Because you, like, when he mentioned he wanted to go back into her service, like, the look on your face was just like, oh, okay, let's roll with it, I guess. Let's
Well,
see what
yeah.
happens.
No, and that was exactly it because I was expecting this. Like, we got to set some ground rules, and you're like, "Hey, I was wrong." And I
Let's
went,
do this.
Let's be friends.
"All right, yeah, this is a good way to approach a goddess. This is she wants your help. She'd
Yeah.
rather take your help willingly."
And I think that,
It's-
like, the hard part in that is it kind of looks like O'Relton just kind of jumps back in bed with her. You know what I mean? But, like, the thought process there was O'Relton killed a guy to get this artifact that he knew nothing about and was betrayed by the people he worked for. At the time, he thought that was a product of List, not a product of the help me out, the Night's Eye. But
Mhm.
after meeting the Night's Eye and Falks, you kind of start to think, well, maybe maybe she didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
was really O'Relton's fuck up, and List just kind of suffered for it. So now that you're kind of out of that environment, you're not as fearful, you're not as running for your life. I guess he started to see things a little bit differently. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that may not have played off quite as well on screen as it should have, but yeah, that's the thought process for that.
I love
think
how
it'll
much
be-
time you spent like having O'Relton mull over like with the sensor,
Certain-
like
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
fuck it, like not wanting to. I come into that a lot with my own like religious beliefs, like thinking of something else and trying to acknowledge what's pride and what's actual belief.
Mhm.
Like, should I? Yeah, I'll come back to this later. Like,
Yeah, I don't know right now. I'll think
yeah,
about it later.
watching you portray that has been awesome.
It'll be
But if you guys
interesting
want
to
to keep talking,
see.
I'll be right back. I'm just getting a phone call.
Yeah,
It's
you're
all
right.
right.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see the players, like or our characters, learning that information because we don't know that yet. And
Right.
Yeah.
the last interaction we had with you and List was she killed you, and
You were-
you're like,
yeah.
"Fuck that bitch."
Yeah, y'all weren't
I'm
in a
not
good
planning on
place.
doing that at any point.
Well, who did I mention it to? I mentioned it to because it was when Isaac had just attacked and we were trying to see if we should pursue him or not. And O'Relton cast Augury. Well, I think it was Vala that asked about it. I'm like, no, that's
Yeah.
that's List's power. That's
Yeah,
not
but that's-
anything I'm doing.
That's all you said. Was just like
Right,
we
right.
didn't-
So
we
it's
didn't push in.
it's
Yeah, it's
sneaking out there.
there now, but it's like we haven't dove into that yet because we didn't really have a chance. It was like, hey, this happened. Oh, I'm checking on this. Oh shit, Father's here.
Yeah, we got some other stuff to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
lot-
what happens. You keep going above your pay grade, though.
yeah.
Yep. Gonna have to keep managing stuff.
I gotta
Yeah,
say
I-
the setup. Go ahead.
With the List being the goddess of secrets, knowledge, and hidden things, it kind of makes sense to not give it all out there at once. You know what I mean?
hmm
So
I gotta say, like, the lead in to or for what's his name? Renault. Like that was actually super sick. Like I
was
was
so
like, you're just like, there's like a little glowing thing. And,
And
like
immediately Kaya's like, the brew.
yeah,
No.
it like played on everybody's like it was like following me and like, what the hell's going on back there? And then Kaya just like immediately like, no, not the alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, so the door blowing open during Kaya and Vala's conversation.
Was
I saw
yeah.
Will go.
Oh, I figured
Yeah,
something was. I was like, he's not just gonna mention this.
I thought it was Kaya's tattoo
Oh,
because
Yeah.
we were kind of talking about like Kaya's backstory, and I read the tattoo and stuff, and so I thought that it had something to do with that magic.
That's
And
what
then I
was
saw the
thinking.
glowing, and so I thought for sure he was gonna go in there and see some demon or something.
I pulled David aside
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that episode, and David, I'm going to let you.
So, okay. So he pulls me over, and the first thing he says to me is, there's a good chance you could die.
I remember you saying that.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that. But if it does, it does. It is what it is. We'll play it out. And he's like, look, if you die, I'm going to give you a character sheet, and you're still playing as Kaya, but you're using this character sheet. And I'll explain more later. Okay. So the door opening on its own, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's an invisible dude, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then the glowing thing in the back room, I'm like, me as a player, I know that's a trap, but the first thing Kaya's going to think of is the brew. And immediately ran back in there. I'm not going to lie. 100% Kaya would have been dead had Vala not stayed at the bar.
And that's, yeah. Vala has 100% saved Kaya there. Because
Twice.
what would
Not just
what would
once,
have happened?
twice.
Because here's the thing, I had that all planned. I knew Kaya would be hanging out at the brewery because when you guys are in Harlan's Landing, that's what he does at night. He works there. I had established that this guy sets a fire, sets a trap, and waits for the person to come, kills him. That's what he did to Renault, replace him. And I was going to Renault was going to mysteriously disappear. And David was going to keep playing Kaya, having been replaced by an assassin by Isaac, disguised as Kaya,
That would have
and
been
like with your group. And like the conversation Dave and I would have is like, see your character now. Like you're working for the Night's Eye, pretend to be Kaya. You have very limited magic at your disposal, so you have to kind of play it up. This is your best chance to get the shard if that's what they're going after next.
that would have been so.
Okay, that was
cool.
going to be my question. That was going to be my question: is what would Isaac's motivation have been if that had played out to come with us? But I
'Cause-
guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because working for the Night's Eye, like get the shard, like personal goal achieved. Kaya's dead.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at that point, going over to Renault's place, like Tarly almost, well, in Kaya's eyes, Tarly almost dying was like detrimental. And I mean, the dude that's helping him brew, I mean, yeah. But and then we moved on to the governor's place to find Renault shoved in a box, just dead. And then immediately, like everyone's like, "All right, he called you brother, right?" Well, I guess I kind of have to spill everything. And for the recap of everyone at home, just to make this quick, when he was really young, there was an old man who made a deal. Well, before he was born, there was an old man that made a deal with his parents. His mom got really sick and was going to die and also lose the baby. At the time that they were thinking it was only a baby, ended up being twins. He has a twin brother, Isaac, but the catch to this is Kaya's a tiefling, Isaac's a human.
Classic deal with the
And,
devil shenanigans.
Yeah. And 10 years later, that old man came back to claim his price, which was going to be Kaya. And his mother eventually made a deal with him to where she took Kaya's place. And then Kaya, before the old man left, he placed a hand on Kaya and said, "You will never be able to say my name." And all of a sudden, a surge of power went into him. And anyway, went on from there. And then to point out how he got into jail, his dad took the news took losing his wife very poorly, and turned around and started to resent Kaya. It was his fault. He did it. He's the reason why, and would consistently beat him. And this went on for years. And Isaac was always the golden boy, could do no wrong, and put a little resentment there. And then it turned around to, at one point, he was beating him so bad that he nearly killed Kaya. And from there, he kind of awakened his powers and ended up disintegrating his own father in front of Isaac, who kind of just happened to come around the corner at the moment of Kaya going, "Yeah, no, fuck you," and turning him to dust.
And
So-
Isaac from then on has dedicated himself to like hunting Kaya and
Yep.
getting the skills he needed, which is fun to see that come into play right then. And not to like skip off of that note, but with O'Relton's disappearance, Harlan's Landing was short on leadership.
Uh,
You mean Renault?
don't you
Okay,
want Renault?
disappearance.
Renault.
Or Renault, sorry, Renault's death.
I was like,
What
I
did I
don't
say?
remember O'Relton being gone.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Renault's death, meaning Harlan's Landing needed new leadership, and through some random coincidence, Vala, now the governess of a settlement, the princess of another, going
Yeah.
into that meeting with Father you guys had set up as two of the three leaders. That went way easier than I anticipated. That went way easier than I expected.
That was
Yeah,
weird.
you take out the only two problem children, and things go a lot
Yeah.
smoother.
Well, and then
actually-
Mithalai being the other problem child being taken out in a very different way.
That was
Yeah.
so good. That was so great.
I'm really interested to see how I'm really interested to see how this whole like Princess of Nalberend and city
Running
state
a
of Gormand.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
What's
real
gonna
interested
happen?
to see how that's gonna play out. But
It's gonna be fun. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
politics.
one of the next big things we have to address. After again, you like have effectively brokered peace. You just have to figure out this last thing between the Dow and the settlement of Aldenstead, the last settlement you haven't been to. And that's where we're at. You have to side with one and destroy the other.
pretty much.
Well, that's
I
the
mean-
option you've given us. You know, we
So-
don't really take the path laid out.
You could
Right.
you could fuck off on the Fenris Wind and go hunt a kraken. Like
And come back to just absolute chaos.
see what happened.
Fire
You like-
everywhere.
If you'd like to just see what happened, it's always an option.
Right. I know we haven't touched much on the Dow, but just to kind of give a reiteration of that, the Dow is essentially controlling all of the exiles. They have no free will. I mean, they do to an extent.
They have
but
like
have
their
free will, they're just
day-to-day free will.
Bonded.
Yeah.
they essentially, if the Dow wants them to do something, they have to do it.
And the
Yeah.
Dow's like entire goal is to enslave all the people and force them to do exactly as he wishes to keep the Fey wilds wild.
Yeah.
Peace.
He doesn't trust the mortal races left to their own ends will not abide by nature's laws for long. That's they seek to tame it, break it, and civilize it. And so
So what was everybody's favorite moment so far?
Oh,
There
man.
have been a lot.
Yeah,
them.
there've been a couple. If I had to pinpoint, if I was forced to choose one, the whole Isaac thing is a close second, but I definitely have to do when we first encountered the Night's Eye and infiltrating and all of that.
that was
So
that was something. How about you, Mike?
For me, it just because of the amount of growth I think it did for me as a new player was that whole fight with Terra and those 2 episodes. Like, I feel like it helped me open up as my character and gave me some avenues to actually search. And so just being able to fully dive in, role play. I don't think I've ever been as in touch with my character as I was in that moment. Like it didn't feel like me playing Raven. It felt like me being I was Raven. And so that was, I think, the coolest thing for me is just being able to have that moment myself.
I take a great
Paula?
perverse pleasure. Sorry to jump in.
No,
I take a great perverse pleasure in y'all's faces when some crazy shit happens. Like when I get cut down immediately by my god, and everybody's face is just like, what just happened? Or specifically Rachel's face when she comes back to me sharpening a blade with a naiad heart.
Man.
I
Just all
still
of those.
can't. I still can't even. It's just so preposterous.
And the other thing, well, it's not a specific moment. I really enjoy the dichotomy we have. We talked about it earlier. What is it? The fun between the fucked up, or what did we say?
the funny between the fucked.
Yeah.
Funny
Yeah.
between the fucked. Yeah, I enjoy the going from puppetry full of corpses to tiny Fey army trying to invade a full settlement.
Yeah, try to
So,
keep it light.
again,
You know?
Yeah, and then
try,
go right
try
back
to keep it light as you're getting ready for Saving Private Ryan moment of just
I mean,
shoot,
we don't have to
demolished.
talk about that. No, I
Yeah.
would have. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. Follow. What was your favorite? Don't have to talk about my psychoses.
All right, it's not emotional and exciting like everybody else's, but pecan.
That's absolutely emotional, exciting.
She's
But it is
totally my favorite.
Positive emotional.
Yeah. Which
I think
we don't have much of,
meeting
so-
Pecan is the reason that Vala decided to start taking that was encouraged to start druiding because that's
Mhm.
now a verb.
Yeah.
Andrew?
I think My favorite moment was probably the door puzzle in Galalway's tomb.
Oh, yeah.
Just the unlocked door that you only set off traps if you try to do anything puzzly with it. You just have to go and push the door open.
Yeah. The
Like,
anti-puzzle is what it
It was
was.
the anti-puzzle. It was me being lazy, but it was so much fun. And
It was good.
sorry, one second. Unplugged my headset from my there. I'm hoping we get so many more of those moments and stuff. Like we've got a
Yeah.
lot coming up, and I mean, depending on the direction you guys go, completely different stories we're going to be telling. Same characters, and we're going to be diving into what's going on with them. But like the overall theme can kind of go anywhere. Like
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited, and I'm really excited to be doing it live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but
Sorry about the technical difficulties in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know. I'm
They
it's
don't
going to
be
be all
there.
of us
Internet.
again. Hey, hit it. Get us to 100 subscribe follows, and we will start making scripts for our openings, so we might help cut out some of those difficulties. But guys, thanks so much for like hanging out, recapping everything. Like, that was so much fun, and I'm so excited for what's coming.
And if you guys like these recaps, like, let us know in the comments, because I think it'd be fun to do more often. I mean, 17 episodes to recap is a long time.
It was a lot.
so-
A lot.
But if you wanted a recap every like 5 episodes, every 10 episodes, like, just let us know. It's super fun to just sit and
Yeah.
chat. And I know that
Plus
we always
helpful
find
for the
ourselves,
players.
we always find ourselves chatting after our sessions anyway, and so it'd be fun to record those and put them out here if that's something you guys enjoy. So
Yeah. Yeah, I guess now we'll see you all September 5th at 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain. On
Twitch.
Easy Dispel, Funny Between the Fucks on twitch.com/easydispel.
it's
Stand it,
twitch.tv
stand it.
actually, but twitch.tv/easy to spell. That's with 2 L's. So
Because it's easy to spell, but we did it wrong anyway.
yeah.
With two-
Was that
Right,
TK?
that's it.
This is what you can look forward to.
Yep.
It's
No, it's
What's up?
Nope.
No, swing it a bit.
Hey,
Let's just leave it here.
if you
Alright.
look over
Am I
on the
back?
screen, on the screen, if you
Yeah,
look
there you go.
over, it's in our logo. It's how it's spelled. You'll be good, and it'll also be at the end of this video.
And we'll still be uploading to YouTube as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you around.
Beaches
Bye.
that way.
See you next week.